All right, and welcome to Not Suitable for Adults. This is a podcast that you listen to every week where we talk about the movies and shows our kids watch. Our kids? I said our kids.
Stop it. Don't lay that on me.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Kid.
It's just the one. This is not a pregnancy announcement.
No. Oh, no.
And I'm Rich.
And I'm Natalie.
This is a good one. This feels like one we might have started over on once before, but this is one we're keeping.
This is happening.
All right. So we have a couple of new things to talk about this week. One is brand new, like really, actually, truly new for us. And one is one we went back and revisited. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about the new one first. So I found a new show in the last week or so. I think exactly a week is how long it took me to watch all of this show.
Sorry, I had to move my mic. Hold on. I have to rearrange real quick. Hold on. Okay, we're good. No, keep it in.
Okay.
People need to know
people like to know that it's real.
People like to hear the behind the scenes things.
Oh man. We have really bad mic stands.
Yeah.
The mics are great. I love our mics, but
the mic stands don't hold our mics
firmly.
The mics like to slide around.
Yeah. All right, let's kick it off. So this week I watched. Oh, hang on,
babe. Go get your headphones.
I know we want you to listen through your headphones.
Why do I need my...
I can hear my tablet just fine.
I can hear my tablet just fine. Why would I need my headphones? Oh, because you don't want to hear it.
Oh, I see.
Oh. Let's do a quick parenting break immediately.
Yeah, we'll do that, and I'll do a old clappy clap when she comes back.
Okay.
So I found the show this past week on Netflix. It's actually in its second season, and I watched both of them. There were just 10 episodes in each season. It's called The Hollow. Do you know anything about The Hollow?
Not a bit, other than the little thumbnail that pops up on Netflix because you have been watching it, and it looks spooky.
It is a little spooky. This is a really fun show, and I'm going to talk about some events in the first season, so you might get some spoilers for the first season, but that's been out now for like a year. I did watch both seasons, but I won't get into spoilers for the second season, because this actually is a series that you could spoil. Oh. There's some suspense in this one.
Well, don't spoil any of it for me. Talk about what it is, but don't spoil it for me.
Okay. So The Hollow follows... I have to tell you like some of what we learn about these people. So follows these three I guess teenagers. Their age is never really addressed, but I'm gonna say they're teenagers.
Are they youths?
Yeah, they're street youths. Kai, Mira, and Adam.
Okay.
And what you know in the very first episode, the first thing that happens is they wake up in this room with no doors.
Uh-oh.
And
how did they get there?
That's one of the questions they have to answer.
All right.
They wake up, they're in a room with no doors, just a vent very high and a drain on the ground and a typewriter.
Huh.
And they have to figure out how to get out of the room.
So it's like an escape room.
The first episode is very like an escape room. Overall, this series is like the closest thing to it. It's not like it in the way that the story goes necessarily, but it's very like Lost.
Okay.
In every single episode, you're kind of learning new things about the characters, and you're learning new things about the world that they're in. One of the things you learn very like in the first 2 minutes is they don't remember anything. They wake up with no memory.
Do they know who they are?
They don't even know their own names. They find their names on slips of paper in their pocket. And they're like, I guess this is our name. But they don't remember anything about their life before that moment.
I'm going to have to look at this one. This seems like something I would enjoy.
Yeah, I would actually watch this one again. I think it's
animated.
Fun. Yep, it's fully animated. It's kind of a unique animation style too. It reminds me of like cartoons, like Nickelodeon cartoons from the 90s in a way, but more sophisticated. Like, if you just straight up stole that style and then just made it more modern. It's really cool. It's a trippy show.
What's the age range for this?
The rating on the show is TVY7. So,
okay.
And I should be clear, this is not something I watched with Cora. We've kind of started looking at some stuff that isn't stuff that Cora's watching. I think that's probably pretty clear in the last few episodes.
Yeah, Cora doesn't watch everything that we talk about just because that would be so many things that she watches.
Yeah. But she has picked up some, like Teen Titans Go. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so this is not one that Cora watched. This is just I was like, oh, it's a TVY7 show on Netflix. It was being promoted at the time. I didn't know anything about it. I was just like, I'll just check it out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it is. If you think you're going to watch it, that I won't do the super duper spoilery things. But like, they have to go through this world. They keep encountering this guy they called the weird guy.
In the room?
No. So
I guess they end up finding a way out of the room.
Right. Yeah.
Somehow.
The whole show isn't set in the room. So,
okay. Okay.
Yeah. And you can see that from the previews. So they do end up finding a way out of the room, and they're in this world, and they keep encountering this guy called the weird guy, and they don't know what he's about, but he comes around whenever they ask, like, they'll say, oh, we really could use some help, and this guy will appear, and he'll be like, all right, I'm going to help you, but it'll cost you, and they don't know what it's going to cost them, and they can't figure out what is going on with this whole world that they're in. It is very, 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 very fun.
Oh.
There are some, I can see why it's TVY7, because there's some moments where they'll encounter something, some scary, they have some scary encounters. There's a lot of suspense too. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of moments where you just don't kind of know what is going to happen, and you're kind of on the edge of your seat.
Well, my interest is piqued.
Okay. Well, good.
It's quite piqued.
Well, then maybe we will go and watch this, and then we can come back and both discuss it more at length.
Or maybe I'll watch it while you're working or something. But would it, if I'm watching it, would it be creepy for the 4-year-old?
I think she would be mostly okay. There's just a couple of times where she'd probably have to turn around because of scary stuff on the screen. Okay. So yeah, it's called The Hollow. For now, it's a recommend. Without a deeper review. 2, and they're 10 episodes each. I watched all 20 episodes this week.
Okay, and it's a continuation. There will be more.
I think so. They leave off the end of the second season with a bit of a cliffhanger, as if there's more story to tell.
Interesting. Do you know when the next season?
The second one, I think, just recently stopped. Like, it still has the new episodes tag on it on Netflix, so probably not for several months.
Huh. Cool. Well, yeah, I'll look into that. I like a good little animated series.
Yeah, for sure. So, The Hollow. Go check it out. Natalie will watch it, and we'll do a deeper discussion on it soon.
Okay.
Next up, we're going to do we haven't done a question of the day in a second.
Question of the day.
Nice.
Thanks.
This week, we realized we've talked about a lot of different topics on a question of the day. We've talked about, like, our favorite soundtrack and our favorite overall just animated movie and heroes and villains and princesses and all this. But we haven't talked about what we think is, like, the movie that is best animated. Mm-hmm. We've talked about our favorite animated movie, but not the one that actually looks the best.
The specific animation style we think is the best.
Yeah.
What I like to say, the prettiest movie.
The prettiest animated movie.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to talk about this week. And let's just get this we'll just go ahead and take care of some business up front.
We'll go ahead and say it.
Both of our prettiest animated movie is Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is the most beautiful animated movie, specifically the animation part, that I probably have ever seen. Yeah. It's lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than you guys need to go watch it.
You could mute the movie and just watch it and just look at it, and it would and you'd have a good time. You shouldn't do that because it's also very well acted. But you could. Like, you could just I could just look at screenshots of that movie.
It's and each, like you said, if there's a screenshot, each screenshot would have something interesting in it.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, we're hyping it a lot.
Because we love it.
Yeah. Of course, you know, I always hate it when somebody hypes something so much and then you go and you watch it or eat the food at the particular restaurant or go to that particular movie or whatever, and you're like, that was okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think it should be noted that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in 2019 did win the BAFTA award for Best Animated Film.
And well-deserved.
It is well-deserved.
So, that being said, that business out of the way, we both knew, because we talk about it a lot, that was going to be our number one answer for this. So, that being said, so that we can have some discussion, what's the next best looking, the next prettiest animated movie for each of us? I'm going to let Natalie go first.
Okay, mine, and I did not plan this. I actually just looked it up to see. But mine actually won the BAFTA Best Animated Film.
In its year.
In its year, which was 2018.
Oh no, we may have said the same one.
Is it Coco?
It's Coco.
Oh man! Again, one of the most beautiful movies. It's gorgeous. Okay, let's pick something out. Hold on. Let's talk about Coco for a second. Okay. The colors are so vibrant. The way so Coco, and we should do a review
a whole
on
thing
Coco. But if you haven't seen Coco, it is mostly centered on the Day of the Dead, and it takes place in the afterlife. We're following a boy that has stumbled into the afterlife. He has not died. Yeah. He has just stumbled his physical form into the afterlife. And it is gorgeous. It's just beautiful. And we can talk about Coco more because I think we both very much enjoy Coco.
Yeah, it's been a second since I saw it, but
we should watch it again. Yeah. Cora enjoys it, and she's actually okay with the kind of like skeleton faces and everything. What she doesn't like is the spirit animals. Yeah, the kind of the big, is it like a tiger or dragon kind of thing that tracks them or something? You know what I'm talking about.
I just think about that. I think about that, what is it? It's like a flower petal bridge.
Yes.
That they come across.
And
it's
the petals,
so pretty.
And each petal is, floats around.
And it's Pixar,
gorgeous.
So obviously.
It's Pixar. Come on, it's Pixar. So do you have another one that you could you say it. You say one.
Oh gosh, because that was going to be my one. Okay. So off the top of my head, so I'll do this because I was thinking about these. I'm going to do a couple of honorable mentions.
Okay.
Because it's easy. I feel like it's easy for brand new movies to be the best at this because they're at the front of technology.
Right. They have the technology available to them. Yes.
So I'll say one that popped to my head as like, oh, it's too bad we're not talking about this in the year this movie came out because this would probably be the one. And it's almost always Disney that's on the front of this. Disney's, I don't think responsible for Into the Spider-Verse, but is for Coco. Back in the day, and still, Disney's always sort of been at the forefront of animation because that's kind of their bread and butter.
That's their thing.
I was thinking back to movies like Beauty and the Beast and Lion King that were at the time at the front of that style at the front of animation technology. But the one that popped into my head first is not actually one of my favorite movies ever, but is very pretty, is Pocahontas.
It's been a minute since I watched Pocahontas.
There's some very, very pretty animation in that movie.
The Colors of the Wind.
Yeah,
man.
It's right in the song. I would say that's another very pretty, but a lot of those, like I said, Beauty and the Beast is a good one because that ballroom scene was kind of a first of its kind 3D animation, like not in 3D, like you have to wear glasses, but like you actually have a real sense of depth and scope of these sweeping shots.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are kind of the movies that pop into my head as honorable mentions. They've been overshadowed by what is possible now, but at the time, and all those effects still very much hold up.
I really enjoy the animation of Finding Nemo.
Oh, yeah.
And just the underwater, you can see sediment, you can see sand, you can see the way the fish move. And
the water looks like water in that movie.
Yes. When they're on the reef, you can see all the vegetation, the coral vegetation and everything like that moving in the water. And I always thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. Again, it wasn't too long ago that came out, but for the time that it came out, it was really pretty, I thought.
Yeah, the background effects, and again, that's Pixar, so
mm-hmm. Yeah,
they just know what they're doing.
Pixar's got it. They've got it.
I feel like Disney overall gets kind of a lockdown on that. I guess I think about like DreamWorks, and DreamWorks.
So can I just say really quickly? No, I just want to say really quickly, because we were talking about how Pixar just kind of has a thing about it. Studios with multiple nominations and wins for Academy Awards of Best Animated mm-hmm. films. Pixar has won 10 and has been nominated for 13. Disney Animation has won, so I guess Pixar and Disney Animation are two different things.
Yeah.
Pixar has won the most. Disney Animation has been nominated 11 times and has won 3. Mm-hmm. And then the rest have several nominations, but only one DreamWorks animation has won, and it was Shrek.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But the others are mostly taken by Pixar and Disney Animation.
I think that has to do with sort of the focus of those different studios. And I think DreamWorks is trying to do this more now. I think now that I don't know if they were late to the game. Like I said, the thing is just that Disney has been doing animation since animation mm-hmm. started.
Well, DreamWorks has actually been nominated mm-hmm. for just as many nominations.
Right.
But
they just don't win. They just don't beat Pixar.
Right. They're not beating Pixar or Disney Animation, but they are nominated as much as they are.
I think that DreamWorks is starting to get to that place where they are making some really good looking locations. Like I think about How to Train Your Dragon and stuff like that.
That was one of the nominations. Yes.
I think that they are in that place but I feel like they're focused more on, I don't know. I feel like maybe Disney's focused more on, we're going to make something especially beautiful, when DreamWorks is often kind of focused on, we're going to tell a story through animation. Mm-hmm. And it's just a different approach to doing it. I don't know if one's better necessarily or worse, because DreamWorks makes some of my absolutely favorite animated movies. Like
How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're, I don't know if maybe they're just focused on more like, we're going to get big names in our movies and that kind of thing.
I don't know, because there are big names in Pixar movies too. It's just,
yeah,
it's just, it's, yeah. I just wanted to throw those numbers out.
For sure.
But anyway, okay, cool.
So we agree, Into the Spider-Verse and Coco.
Those are our top two. Yeah.
Are the two prettiest animated movies.
I also really like Monsters, Inc.
Okay.
With the doors. I really love the system they put in place when they go into the big door warehouse mm-hmm. and the doors are all flying everywhere. And then when you see Sully, you see his fur.
Like individual hairs.
Yes, in the wind. Especially in the, when they get banished.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I also thought of that one as well. But, mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm,
well,
mm-hmm.
now that we agree.
Something we agree on.
We agree, and we're going to hop in the car and take a trip to Promoville.
Should I sing the song?
It's up to you.
It's a beautiful day in Promoville, a beautiful day for a promo. Would you please, could you please listen to this promo?
Hello, I am Christy.
And I'm Leighton.
And together we are a new podcast on whiskey tasting called
Married Mash, where we discuss life, family, and pretty much anything.
Yep, and Leighton brings a new whiskey for me to try. Will we clink it?
Or will we sink it?
Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And remember,
always drink responsibly.
Indeed.
And we're back from Promoville.
Yay!
So, Natalie, we watched kind of a throwback this week, and,
Yes.
and you're going to talk about it.
Let's journey back. Journey back with me to 1989.
We're there.
Okay, cool. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
What?
What are we gonna do? I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna put on some weird goggles and look around our yard. Here we go. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. We revisited it. And actually Cora watched a good portion of it as well. She got kind of into it. It kind of piqued her interest because it started, the first credits parts are animated.
Yeah.
And that kind of follows a little bit of that, like, National Lampoon Vacation series where it begins animated and then it goes into...
Very much an 80s comedy movie opening credits style.
Yeah. So I kind of just took some notes again as we were watching, and I'm going to try not to get into it super deep, but this is a classic.
Oh, yeah.
And people may want us to just really dive into this classic.
Maybe so.
So I took some notes because...
That's what you do.
I am Natalie. Have you met me? Hey, I take notes. We have the Selinsky family. And we are just blessed to be able to watch Rick Moranis.
What a national treasure.
National treasure, that is Rick Moranis. And he plays Wayne Selinsky. And he is the dad of this family. And he is kind of an inventor. He's something that I thought when I watched the beginning of this movie, because you're seeing the way the mail kind of comes in, the way they're alerted to breakfast, the way certain things are made kind of in their kitchen. And that made me think of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when Dick Van Dyke, he is also kind of an inventor, and he, through his little song at the beginning, he's making breakfast with all of his little gadgets and stuff like that. And it kind of threw me back even farther to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I thought that, was an interesting little...
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they did it like as a callback. It feels
very similar.
It feels very similar. So he's trying to make this shrink ray, basically.
As one would.
And it's, all of his inventions kind of make some noise. And the neighbors, who are what's their last name? Taylors?
No.
Taylors? Turners? Shoot. I'll have to look it up. But he kind of...
I think it's Taylor. Russ Taylor.
Okay, he kind of turns over in his bed, and this is the first thing that we said as we were watching it. He kind of turns over in his bed, and he's like, "Ugh, I wish you would be quiet. I need my sleep. We've got a 4-hour drive ahead of us."
We're like, oh, poor Russ. 4 hours in the car? Oh.
4 hours is nothing. Of course, us as a family... We have taken some
serious
long road trips. So when they say 4 hours, we're like, okay, we'll do that in like a,
But the thing is, like, even then, 4 hours, you would not need to normally stop for more sleep within 4 hours. Like, you're going to wake up and leave. It would be different if it was 8 hours. Like, I'm about to have to go drive for 8 hours. It's like, okay, you could conceivably, by the time you get going and you're on the road, 8 hours from then, you might actually be tired and need to sleep. And so you need to charge up your sleep. 4 hours is not that.
4 hours is not that.
It's like 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and in 4 hours, you're going to be where you're going. It's going to be lunchtime.
Right. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, everyone. They are called the Thompsons. They are not the Taylors or whatever we said at the beginning. So the Thompsons are getting ready to go camping. They're going to the lake. And apparently you need some really good sleep to drive 4 hours to the lake where you're, I guess, going to, run a marathon or something.
They're going to fish.
I know, that's what I mean.
You're going to get a boat.
They need so much sleep for that 4-hour drive and sitting in a boat. Have you noticed, you may have noticed this as we were watching, how much stuff they are packing into their little camper.
Yeah.
They are packing the whole day.
Yeah.
That whole day that we are observing while the kids are getting shrunk and figuring their way back and everything, they're packing. The mom and dad continue to take things into this camper.
And some of the stuff is stuff you don't need on a fishing trip. Like, he loads in his golf clubs. And
I think she loads in some golf clubs, maybe for herself.
Oh, okay. Maybe she's going to go golfing.
That's another thing I noticed. She had golf clubs in, 2 big bags, and he's, handing things to her, and she's all loaded up, and then he picks up this little lantern and follows her.
He also, there's a point where he's, listing, he's got a list, a legal pad, and he's checking things off. And all the things he's checking off are, microwave dinners.
Yes, they're microwave dinners, or, they made me think of, military rations.
Yeah, but it was things like fish sticks. He's
and then meatloaf.
Yeah, meatloaf, fish sticks. It's no, okay, you're fishing, right?
Right. Maybe they don't think they're gonna catch any fish. I guess
not. They're taking it pretty seriously,
and they're taking a ton of stuff. I'm wondering if this is a week-long trip, or if they're just going for the weekend, or what, because they have piles of things.
This episode is now about this fishing trip.
Yes.
Forget about the kids.
Yes. So they're getting ready for their fishing trip. The Selinskys are cleaning up because their mom has been on a long business trip, and we get the impression that she's been away for quite a while, and it could be because mom and dad are having some issues.
It's a little confusing because at the beginning they talk about, at the very beginning they're like, mom and dad had a fight last night and mom went to stay with grandma. But then when they talk to her, she's like, yep, I'm coming back from this business trip soon. It's kind of confusing. Or maybe she doesn't say business trip. Maybe she's just coming back from work. Maybe she's just working.
I think she is just working.
Okay. They make it seem like...
They make it seem like the parents are on the outs. Or is that the right term? And because he even says, I promise it'll be different when you come back and stuff like that. And the teenage girl is like, hey, did mom say when she was coming home? It seems like a tense situation.
For what it's worth, this is... There's a lot of things about this movie that are a little bit off that kind of make it fun. I think this is one of them. I can totally understand and I get why they put in the story that the mom is frustrated with Wayne. I can't remember her name.
Mrs.
Zelinsky and Wayne. I can totally understand why they would be at odds because he's an eclectic guy and he's kind of a failed inventor, but he goes in and he's giving this thing, and every moment that we see her on screen, she's very supportive of him and very proud of him. So it's hard, you don't actually see the tension that they allude to at the beginning of this movie.
Right. Yes, that's right. So they are cleaning up the house because mom's coming home and dad needs to go do his presentation on his shrink ray. So little Nicky is put in charge of mowing the lawn, but he doesn't want to mow the lawn.
Nope,
so
he's a nerd.
Yeah, so he gets his friend. Nerds can mow lawns.
Not in the 80s, they can't.
Okay. He gets his friend to come over and say, hey, I'll let you mow my lawn. And the kid's like,
no.
Hard pass. And he's like, oh, well, I guess I'll just do it with this sweet, awesome lawnmower that's remote controlled. And the remote control
is almost as big as the mower.
Yes. Yes. The remote control is as big. I was trying to think of something that I could relate to how big this remote control is.
It's the size of a cereal box.
There it is.
Yeah.
A cereal box. Yes, thank you.
And a big one, like a family-sized cereal box.
Big one. And the kid's like, well, listen, I can't do it right now. I really do want to do it. And the kids, and little Nikki's like, well, I need to get this done before my mom and dad get back from work. And he's like, don't worry, I'll be back later. I'll take care of it later.
Yeah. The
neighbor kid says. We find out later he doesn't come back until the next day.
Well, yeah, the story needed him tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
The story needed him to come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
We get a little bit of insight next into the Thompson family.
Mm-hmm.
They're packing for camping, but Russ Jr., he's not into it.
Yeah.
And also we find out that he has decided to quit football, which Russ Sr. was a big... Yeah. He did it in his high school years.
Yeah, he was the captain of his team, and he's trying to pass along that tradition.
Yes, Russ Jr. apparently is, and I put this in quotes, too small for football.
He is short.
He is a small person.
For whatever age he's supposed to be, like 16, 17, he's a short guy. He's shorter than the Zelensky girl.
Yes, yes. And he's also really not into going on this fishing trip either. So him and his dad have a little tiff about that. So there's just small little tiffs going on. Also, his little brother, Ron Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Ron Thompson.
Ron
Swanson is what I'm thinking of. Ron Thompson, he just really wants somebody to play baseball with him. Like, he just wants somebody to play with him, poor kid. So he ends up playing...
I don't know if I call him poor kid. He's kind of a jerk.
I mean, he's a jerk, but it's probably because nobody plays with him.
If only someone would have had a catch with him.
Okay, stop.
I don't really
don't
say
it that way.
And I don't judge you if you say it that way, listener.
I do. It's the wrong way to say it. So he's out, he's swinging, he's throwing the baseball up in the air and swinging the bat, and it crashes into the Selinskys' attic, that has the shrink ray in it, and that just sets everything off. Russ Jr. grabs Ron and says, you gotta go tell the neighbors, let's go tell the Selinskys. They run over, they go up to fetch the baseball, and they all get shrunk.
And the rest is history.
They done get shrunked.
They got shrunked.
And Wayne comes back after his conference, which he bombs.
Well, the shrink ray doesn't work. That's the problem. If only the shrink ray worked.
Yes. And tell me, by the way, I have in my notes, and it literally says...
I've been waiting for this moment.
It literally says, Rich describes science.
Okay, so here's the deal. Wayne describes at the conference the way this shrink ray works. He says to these other scientists, like, well, we're made up of atoms, but we're also made up of mostly space. So if we could just remove the space, we could shrink something. So they tell him he's a crackpot, and then they're like, what has shrunk is this audience. Let's go get lunch.
Classic.
So what he's describing is simply taking the space out of a thing. Mm-hmm. What that should mean, and what Ant-Man addresses, which is another shrinking movie, is that because it does the same thing, when they talk about it in Ant-Man, all they talk about doing is taking the space between the atoms, which means, and then in that movie they go, and what that means is, you're just as heavy when you're shrunk as you are when you're...
That's why he can punch and,
Yeah, he can jump up and kick people and it feels like a 200-pound man is kicking you. I don't know if Paul Rudd's 200 pounds, but maybe with a suit on. That's, again, not important. So, I just noted...
That is not addressed in... Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I just noted that they don't stick to consistent science in this movie because later on they're hanging on the back of a bee, and they wouldn't be able to hang on the back of a bee.
Ant-Man hangs onto an ant.
Yeah, but ants are super strong. You're right. It's still a plot hole.
Never mind. Go ahead.
No, an ant could not carry a whole Paul Rudd. Much less for shrunken children who are still just as dense as they were before. I'm just saying it's not, they don't do the science consistently if that's the case, because all they become is their volume decreases, but their density increases, and their weight should remain the same.
Okay, so they scienced wrong.
As many 80s movies did, they scienced wrong.
They scienced wrong. Yeah, he walks up into that attic looking for his kids, and he notices the couch and the couch and the chair are gone. His kids are gone, and there's a hole through his window. And he's like, what a day. He says that. He says, what a day.
Well, like, remember, again, and we're just in a new time. So
we're in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And in the 80s, it was totally normal for kids to be like, I'm going to go to my friend's house. Yeah. And that's what the mom does. When she gets home, he's like, I haven't seen the kids. She's like, well, I'll call all their friends' moms. Mm-hmm. And that's what would have happened back then.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it takes them a full day and into a night to really start getting worried about where their kids are.
Yeah.
But my thing is that the chair and the couch are gone. That's my thing. Did he think the kids took the chair and the couch?
Well, but then that's the moment that he starts putting it together.
No, that's at the beginning where he realizes the couch and the chair are gone. There's a hole in his window and his kids aren't there. And he's just like...
Oh, that's right. It's not until the bee thing where he has the bat, and then he puts together like, wait, Nick doesn't play baseball. I saw a baseball. Here's a bat. Yeah. Ronnie must have done it. They know those kids are missing too. You're right. It's not till later.
Yeah, and so he just finds the couch. He finds the couch, and then he realizes, oh, I swept my kids up in a broom. So that was my thing. I was like, okay, so your kids could be at a friend's house. All right. Oh, man, somebody crashed my window. Dang
yeah.
it.
So the same thing in that moment.
My couch is gone.
So that's the thing. He's... he gets frustrated. He goes to sit on the couch and he falls on the ground. And It's a funny pratfall.
Right.
But then you're right. Then he goes, what a day. And then he looks at his machine at the shrink ray. And then he's like, this is all your fault. And then he breaks it.
He smashes the machine up.
But it's not, you're right. It's not until he realizes the couch is gone and he blames the machine for that. He's like, how could you steal my chair and couch?
Oh, anyway. Okay. Well.
Good stuff.
And this whole, like we talked about, the looking for kids before cell phones. She's trying to call everybody else's moms to see if they're at their house. Oh, I knew she was supposed to go to the mall at this certain time. So I'm going to physically go to the mall and look around.
And then when I don't find them, I'm going to get on a payphone.
And try to call the house.
Right.
Right. I mean, whew, what a time.
Oh, what a day.
What a time that was. Also, when he has that realization that, oh no, my kids have been shrunk. Oh no, I swept them up and put them in a trash bag. He finds the trash bag, finds the slit that they cut open. He rigs up that pulley, or what is that called? Balancing, where there's a weight on one end and you're on the other. That's called something. He rigs that up in his yard right quick.
Yeah. He has a couple of different rigs.
Yeah.
Throughout he modifies it a few times. Like, I feel like he had something at first, and then he had the balancing thing.
He tried to walk across the yard on crutches.
Or stilts.
With binoculars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he does the balance thing, and then he rigs it up for the mom later, and they balance each other out.
When he's on the stilts, he gets tangled up into the water hose and sets off the sprinklers, which turns into a very dire situation for the very small children in the yard, because now everything is a swimming pool.
You know what I noticed?
And swimming pools are just falling on you.
Yeah. What I noticed at that point in the movie is, and I said this when we finished too, This movie holds up really well in general.
As far as special effects.
As far as the effects go, there are some moments where there's really bad green screen.
Yes.
But there are so many practical effects in this movie that make up for it that it's really cool. And I thought the water was one of them, because when the water droplets hit around the kids, it's a practical effect. And what it looks like is it's much more viscous. It looks like soap. Like giant soap globules are hitting, and then like
globules.
Yeah, that's the word I chose.
Is that a word?
I think so.
A globule?
Get in the comments, people. Help me out here. Globule's a thing. No, but so they're these very viscous looking. They're not water. Like they look like slime when they hit, and that is what it would. I feel like that is accurate. That's what it would look like if you were down right next to a water droplet that was hitting the ground and kind of cascading out and exploding.
Right.
It would still have some viscosity and stick together. I thought that was really cool. I like the way they handled water at the Shrunk level.
When the water is hitting little Missy, what's her name?
It'd be funny if her name was Missy.
Little Missy. Her name is Amy. Amy Selinsky falls into some water.
A little puddle.
Yes. Russ Jr. dives in to rescue her. She basically drowns. He brings her back up. They pull her up, and he's doing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. She sits up, throws up the water, all that stuff. And then one of the funniest things, and it's a little bit later, so she's recovered a little bit, and she's telling him thank you. And Nicky, the little brother, says, "Where did you learn to do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation?" And Russ Jr. looks at him and goes, "French class, kid." and he kind of like does this little Russ Jr. does this little like, I'm so suave kind of look. Amy kind of does this little like a little giggle at it. And Nikki just goes, huh? And just kind of like walks away.
Yeah.
Then they find the oatmeal cream pie in the yard. And that's very fortunate for them. But I have to say, and this is something that I did hear in a Mabim Bam, My Brother and Me by the McElroy brothers, that they mentioned before is, who the heck is throwing out a whole oatmeal cream pie just in a yard? If I drop my oatmeal cream pie in the yard, I'm picking it back up and I'm eating that bad boy. Like, why did they leave a whole oatmeal cream pie in the yard? And why is there only one ant on it? Ants
they addressed that a little bit.
But ants would have covered that thing immediately. It had to have been dropped like just minutes or an hour beforehand, is what I'm saying.
I wonder, because we see Nick eating an oatmeal cream pie earlier in the movie. I wonder if there's like something that got cut, maybe that explains, like, because
maybe the dog brings it into the yard.
He eats part of it and then sets it down and walks away, and then he puts the box on the table and you see, oh, you're eating Little Debbie's oatmeal cream pies in a very strategic product placement.
So they find the oatmeal cream pie. They're starving. They eat the oatmeal cream pie. There's an ant on it that they end up calling Auntie because they basically, what is that? They break him.
Yeah.
Like a horse, like a wild stallion.
Not psychologically, but they kind of tame him.
Yeah, tame. That's a good word. Nikki says, that ant can't hurt us. He's just a baby. How does he know that?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Also, technically, they should be larger than the ant because when he's doing his little calculations, I believe he says that they are a quarter of an inch tall, which they should be taller than the ant. So the parents call in the police. It's the end of the day. They haven't found their kids by any of their landline means or, going physically to them all. First, it's actually the Thompsons that call the police because Wayne knows where they are. Wayne has figured out they're in the backyard. he hasn't told his wife yet, though.
Right.
So the Thompsons, the next door neighbors, call the police. They come in, and the police, and this is so 80s. This is so 80s. They're just like, you haven't seen them all day? Okay, well.
They're probably at a friend's house, right?
This happens all the time. Kids run away. Like, they say, kids run away if you had a little tiff with them, and, they just run away. It'll be fine. Just give us a picture. And I'm like...
Yeah, call us when you hear from them. Like...
Call us if they come back. Okay.
Bad police from the 80s. Bad.
These days, even if they are, teenagers, if you're a more responsible parent, I would think, you know where your teenagers are.
Or where they probably are. Like,
where they probably
all the places they might be.
And if you don't know where they are, they probably have cell phones. And you can call, you can text, you can use the the tracking apps, which we are absolutely going to have for Cora whenever she gets a cell phone. Privacy B.
Darned.
There it is. So, yeah, I just thought the 80s, kids just run away. It's fine. It's going to be fine. Then the cops get back in the car, and by this time, Mrs. Zielinski has, I think her name's Diane, has...
Sounds right.
Has called the cops as well, and they come over, and Wayne has just told her they're shrunk and in the yard. And so they get the police to leave. Something I saw in kind of a little trivia aspect is, and I didn't notice in the movie, so I did not fact check this, but when the cops get back in the car and see the missing children report for the Zielinskis, or Zielinskis, however you want to say it, the previous record for the Zielinski household states 12 counts of disturbing the peace.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And that is just kind of a throwback to the Russ Sr.'s feelings towards them and how they're loud all the time.
That's funny. I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice either. So, then we see Russ Sr. go out to the backyard, smoking a cigarette and throwing that cigarette into the yard. It almost hits the tiny little children, and they go, and their tiny bodies take in as much smoke to give them stage 4 lung cancer, I believe, immediately.
Yeah, it's like they're in a sauna, but of cigarette smoke.
Yes, right. They find the Lego to sleep in, then the scorpion comes along. And where the heck do these people live?
I was thinking about it. It's probably somewhere in California. And like there's a lot of scorpions in almost in the Midwest, in the Southwest. So it's probably somewhere Southern California or somewhere similar like that.
I think they just threw a scorpion in there just because.
It is one of the...
Because it's a very green environment.
Yeah, it's very green. And the scorpion looks like... I looked up because I was trying to see like what kind of scorpion that might be. Mm-hmm. There is a red Indian scorpion, but that's native to India. But it's a very dangerous scorpion. If it's related to that one, then watch out, because that's one of the ones. Well, no, seriously, because it's one of the small ones,
right?
And as we all learned from Indiana Jones, the
smaller the worse.
In the classic Indiana Jones movie, in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull,
the good one.
Yeah, obviously. The smaller the scorpion, the worse it is for you. Mm-hmm. You're more likely to be in trouble getting stung by a little scorpion. And hey, if you didn't know that, you're welcome.
Yeah. The more you know. The scorpion comes along, the ant defends them, Auntie, and this is the part that Cora cried.
Yeah.
Because the scorpion does defeat Auntie. Auntie does get mortally wounded. Mm-hmm. We're being very careful lately with the DEAD
word. Yeah.
And the
that concept.
Mortality talk, because we've had some nightmares. Our little girl is getting older and she's realizing that life has an end. Yes. So she cried, but also Cora really enjoys ants for some reason. Cora will go outside and see an ant on a sidewalk and go, "Oh, an ant friend." And she's like, "I want him to climb on my hand." And like, she wants to hold it and stuff. And I've had to tell her, listen, that's cool, but please don't just pick up any random ants because some of them do bite. And I told her the red ones bite. So that's the one part that she actually got quite upset about, is because Auntie got hurt. She also didn't care for the lawnmower part. So the kid shows up the next day, and he's going to mow the lawn with this super rad
remote control lawnmower.
Remote control lawnmower. He's mowing the lawn, and the lawnmower stops in the little hole that they've found themselves in, and Nikki starts getting sucked up into the lawnmower. Cora was a little iffy about that part. Then we just, they make it to the house. The famous Cheerios
classic
scene.
Cheerios scene.
Where, again, they should be taller than the Cheerios.
They should be. There should also be more Cheerios in that bowl.
Yeah, you didn't like the idea that there was so much milk and so few Cheerios.
He poured a bowl of Cheerios and put milk on it, and then we see his first bite, and it's like the end of a bowl of Cheerios.
Right. Right, I know.
There's like 20 Cheerios in there.
So they find them as soon, right before he eats.
Thanks to Quark, the dog.
Thanks to Quark. And, they end up growing them back up, or unshrinking, returning to normal size.
Yeah.
But something, I was just like, okay, your kids have been a full day in a yard. And it's not a yard to them, it's the jungle. One of them has basically drowned. Several of them have gone on, or a couple of them have gone on a very high flight with a bee and fallen.
Fallen into pollen.
They have blood on them.
Yeah.
During the movie. Ron is, when they're trying to restrain Auntie, Ron is knocked and hit against a rock, and you can see blood on his head.
Yeah.
And the first thing, I mean, you get your kids, they do hug them, they hug them tight, and the first thing they start talking about is the plot points that we have not resolved yet.
Yeah.
Which is, Amy says, "Mom, are you and Dad okay?" And she goes, "Yeah, hon, we're okay.
Yeah, we were okay fine. All along."
And what's his name? Wayne Selinsky says to Nikki, "You're so smart. You
figured it out.
You figured it out. You did a great job." The Thompsons are like, "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry I made fun of the fishing trip, and if you want me to play football, I'll play football." He's like, "No,
we
son,
love you no matter what.
We love you no matter what." And actually, you know what? Let's all go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I would be. I'd be like, "Oh, what happened? Oh,
we can talk about this in the car."
Yeah. We're immediately going to the emergency room.
Yeah.
Because you have blood on your face. You've been knocked around. You have fallen from a great height. You've been drowned. Hey,
let's go to the hospital.
Let's go to the emergency room.
Yeah, let's do it.
Next we see them is that they're all together.
They're fast friends, these families.
They're fast friends. They're all together. They're at the dining room table. It looks like they have blown up a giant turkey.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Not too much, but they're eating a huge turkey. Yeah. Kids are playing footsies under the table. And the screen goes dark.
Yeah, it's sort of circle. Does
the classic circle fade away. kind of thing. And then you hear Nikki say, "Oh, I get it." And then it pops back to his face and he goes, "French class." And then credits.
It's the silliest ending to a movie. And I like it. Like, part of me really hates it a lot, like deep in my soul, but I also really love it.
I'm sure that ran super long. It's okay, but I do have a little bit of trivia for you.
Before we do trivia, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
We talked before about how there's so many things about this movie that are detached from, I mean, it's a very fantastical plot to begin with. I get that. But there's so many things about this movie that are detached from reality. And especially now, like, there's one line between Russ Jr. and Amy, one conversation that they have that today I think works, but in the 80s doesn't make any sense. And he talks about, he's like, "Hey, so you like to dance, huh?" And because he saw her dancing while she was mopping earlier. Mm-hmm. And she was like, "How do you know that?" And he's like, "Well, I wasn't watching you. I just saw you." And so they have this awkward conversation, and she's like, "Well, why didn't you ever come over before?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I wanted to, but
you're just
I don't know.
Popular.
You're so popular, and I just didn't feel like." And I was like, "Excuse me, you were on the football team in the 80s."
Yeah. Those were supposed to be the popular guys.
Yeah, you are one of those people. You're an attractive young lad. You are a popular kid at your school. There's no way you're not. She
does say, "You know what? I was too popular to pay attention to you." Like, she kind of admits it, and then they, like, kiss.
French class!
French class!
Anyway, I just thought that in that moment, I was like, no way. No way! It doesn't even matter if
that's a weird social kind of, yeah.
Because doesn't he also, didn't they say he quit, like, being... Did they say he was the quarterback and he quit? Even?
Oh, I don't remember what his
it doesn't
position
matter.
was.
He was on the football team in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Before Rick Moranis was cast as Wayne Selinsky, the script was written with Chevy Chase in mind. Because of the popularity of the vacation movies.
Yeah.
He was too busy. Chevy Chase was. John Candy was considered for the role, but he declined and suggested to the director that his friend Rick Moranis would be a good choice.
He was right.
He was.
I gotta say, unpopular opinion, and you know this.
I know, babe.
I'm not a fan. Not a
Chevy Chase fan. That boy over there is not a Chevy Chase fan.
We can talk about that another time.
It was unexpected box office success.
Mm-hmm.
They did not realize how much of a success. It grossed around about $222 million.
Yeah.
And in today's kind of, if we're going from 89 to 2019, which is where this statistic came from, that's equivalent to about $457 million now.
Yeah.
So it was the highest grossing live action Disney film ever. And it held that record for 5 years. We got 2 sequels. We got Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. And we got Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
I was sure it was Blew Up the Baby.
No, it's Kid. They got a television series, which Rick Moranis did not star in. And they have theme park attractions. Mm-hmm. They have the Honey, I Blew Up the Kid theme park attraction. So there it is. There's Honey, I Shrunk
the Kids.
The Kids. And I think we're planning on watching...
Let's watch the others.
The other ones, too. But that's the classic. That's it.
Whew. This has been another episode of Not Suitable for Adults. And we thank you so much for coming and listening to us. And this is something we don't ask a lot, but go out and wherever you listen to us, especially if it's like iTunes, go ahead and leave a rating for us and a review. We would love to hear your feedback. Also, if you go to podchaser.com, if you're not an iPhone user, that's a great place to drop a review. You can subscribe to us on Spreaker or any of the pod getters that you use. But if you have the ability to go out and leave a rating and a review, that helps us out a lot. We would love to see your feedback. And also be sure to follow us on social media. We're super active on Twitter. You can find us at Not For Adults Cast. That's NOT, number 4, Adults Cast.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell everybody that I was on the latest episode of 4 in Tow podcast. And we just talked about how I was homeschooled growing up. Elizabeth does that podcast, and she's a homeschool mom. She was also a homeschool kid, and we just had a good discussion about homeschooling and how we grew up being homeschooled.
It's a really good, informative episode and entertaining to listen to because these two gals get along really well. So it was a good discussion.
Yeah, so look up 4 in Tow podcast. That's when I'm saying tow, it's TOW.
Yeah.
And check out the latest episode. It just came out the day we're recording this right now. So you should be able to find it.
And you can follow Elizabeth's podcast at 4 in Tow Pod on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She has a lot of stuff about homeschooling and stuff if you guys are interested in that sort of educational style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just don't forget, as we're going through the week here, I feel like we're all sort of getting into the groove of lockdown and quarantine, and some people are getting ready to go back to work. Some people are figuring out how they're going to do part work from home. Mm-hmm. And just don't forget, when you are home, you don't have to surrender your power. You can still, I forgot I forgot my part of it. I did the wrong thing. I set it up wrong. Just don't forget you're the boss.
So watch whatever you want.
Okay, bye.
Bye.